Hello there, guys. Long time no see. Hope you're all well. Obviously, the last time we spoke to each other was the May local elections at the beginning of last month, so I have been absent for a little while. I do apologise. In the meantime, since I last spoke to you, I've had the joys of having an impacted wisdom tooth removed, which is about as enjoyable as it sounds. I didn't realise this going into it, but apparently it is like the worst tooth to have removed. Um, Skip the video ahead about 20 or 30 seconds if you're slightly squeamish. But I had the joyous added complication as they were actually removing it and pulling it out. There was like, it was still attached to the roof of my mouth by a little bit of gum. I actually had the sensation of it dangling in my mouth, and they had to sort of chop the rest of it off. So that was not very much fun. Boys and girls, look after your teeth. Although I couldn't be blamed. Wisdom teeth, they pop in there and there's not even the room for them in the first place anyway. You know, what business do they have being there? They're an evolutionary throwback. We don't need them. What's the point of them? Anyway, speaking of what's the point of things, Keir Starmer has been responding to the local elections that haven't gone particularly well for Labour. It seems that he's beginning to go, oh, crap. It seems like nobody likes us and nobody wants to vote for us. What do we do? Maybe rethink the winter fuel payments. That's an idea. That two-child benefit cap, we'll have a little look at that one as well. These things that were sort of steadfast, they have to be done and they're the right thing to do and there's no way we can change it and this is the only way we can do things because of the 20 billion black hole the Tories left us, yah, yah, yah. It turns out actually you can change your mind on these things if the right conditions allow for it. Farage has pounced right in there, and he's doing very well for himself, riding high in the polls at the moment. But he's now tacking left, as some people are saying, on certain issues and parking his tanks on Labour's law. It's funny, isn't it? Actually, you've got Labour trying to replicate reform with certain very right-wing policies or sounding rhetoric, and now you've got reform moving towards Labour's territory on things like the two-child benefit cap or what have you. Now, it is only fair that Farage comes in for some criticism that he, in being in opposition and not even being the official opposition, it's very easy for him to say, oh yes, we'll do this and we'll do that and blah, blah, blah. And his sums don't really need to add up at the moment. They ought to, if he is to be considered seriously as the potential Prime Minister come the next general election. But as things currently stand, he can generally get away with just saying, oh yes, we'll do this and that. And there doesn't seem to be an awful lot of scrutiny of how exactly he's going to fund it or if the things that he says he's going to use to fund it are actually going to end up being economically literate, shall we say. But this far out from the next general election, there's just not that much attention being paid to it. But it certainly is interesting, isn't it? Labour do seem to have grasped the fact that they are immensely unpopular and they do need to make some changes, and Reform likewise are capitalising off of that the best they can as well. What of the Tories? We'll mention them as well. Not great for them. I think we've had some polls in the last few weeks that have actually had them in fourth place behind the Liberal Democrats in some circumstances. If anything, they got an absolute scrubbing at the general election last year, but they've actually fallen since then. Which is certainly not where they want to be. There are continuing conversations about when Kemi Badenoch's going to end up going. The most likely candidate to replace her, by all accounts, is Robert Jenrick. Robert Jenrick's been running a shadow leadership campaign for absolutely ages at this point, doing all of his little videos and all the rest of it, and most recently challenging people on the London Underground for not paying their fares. But this is the thing, Jenrick seems able to generate more headlines more easily on issues and policies and topics than Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the Conservatives, is. Badenoch's approach has always been, well, look, it's going to take a long time to rebuild. We're going to have long policy reviews. We're not just going to be throwing policies out willy-nilly. We're going to have a good hard think about it. And that is in a perfect world, that would be very sensible and pragmatic. You'd say, yes, of course, you need a good, long, hard think about what it is that you're supposed to be doing right now, given that you've been so utterly scrubbed. But yet, the way that the to and fro of politics works, it is in fact the Farages of the world who are able to say, oh, yes, we'll do that policy that Labour's doing, and of course we'll pay for it. And then that ends up getting more attention. Kemi Badenoch sitting on her hands and saying, oh, no, we're not going to be revealing anything that we're going to be doing. Well, it creates something of a vacuum as far as the opposition to the Labour government goes, doesn't it? So it's everything that I'm hearing, really, as far as Badenoch and the Tories are concerned, is that by all accounts she will be out by after May of next year at the very latest, if there isn't some effort to remove her sooner. That seems to be the way that things are heading for the time being. The Liberal Democrats, I don't really have anything to say about the Lib Dems. They're doing better than they have been doing for a while. I think they're continuing to gently climb up there in the polls. What else can you say? They're the Lib Dems. The Greens are having a leadership contest soon, and I've forgotten the chap's name, but I'm aware that there's sort of like a kind of like a left-wing populisty type candidate who's in the mix there, and he's running to have the party just as him as the leader, as opposed to the co-leader formula that they've been doing over recent years. So I don't have a finger on the pulse of what the Green membership are likely to elect. I don't know how that's going to go, but nonetheless, it is interesting. If he did end up winning, perhaps we'd see different types of messaging, perhaps even different types of policies from the Greens. And the Greens have been on their way up as well. At the moment we're kind of talking about 3-party politics, 4-party politics. The Greens are sort of left out a bit because they're still hovering around maybe 10% in the polls, but they have improved things for themselves in the last few. Well, they've been climbing fairly consistently, to be fair, but they're still fairly small fry at the moment. And we do have a by-election for the Scottish Parliaments coming up, I think on Thursday. And that's going to be an interesting one as a test to see how far reform has managed to push into Scotland. So that, in a nutshell, guys, is sort of a just a quick rundown and recap, I think, of the main parties and where things have been at since the local elections. I will be back a little bit more consistently soon, as you can see by these lovely bags under my eyes. Since having that tooth removed, I've not been getting the best night's sleep, to be totally honest with you. It's very, very hit and miss. I'm doing my best to remain rested for the time being. But anyway, I will be seeing more of you guys in the wake of my absence over the last few weeks. So I hope you're all well. Take care. I'll catch you all later. Ta-ta.